Hi guys, in this section we will be doing a diagram for the course management system which we started from the very beginning of this particular course. Now again, just to mention that this will make sure that you understand the basics to the advanced thing. I'm not doing advanced is nothing but all the components when it is coming together, right? So let us see that how it will look like when you will be going to draw a deployment diagram for the course management system. So what you do is you open your own particular tools. In this case it is Visual Paradigm. For your case it can be draw.io, it can be star UML, it can be anything. So just open that and go to a deployment diagram. I will open a blank deployment diagram to do so that we all understand and we are all in the same page. Now for a course management system, if you remember that we said that for the course we will be having a web application, right? And there will be course DB, student DB, instructor DB. When I say DB is a database. Now all those course, student and the instructor will be having UIs, right? And those UIs will be deployed in a web server, and if there is something which is not static, that can be deployed in an application server. Now how to do that is what we are going to see. Now say for example, I will start drawing it. Very simple thing, but we will see that how this component can be together aligned, right? Now I am taking this node and I will just drag and drop a node. I will say this node will be deployed for application server. Okay, now what is this application server consisting of? In the last component diagram, if you want to refer back to that, you can go back and have a look on that. If you remember, we did have an instructor, student and the course, right? So what I do is I drag three components, the components what I want to deploy in this application server and which are not static. Okay, so for that what I'm doing is I am saying this is the course UI, this is the student UI, and this is the instructor UI. Now all these three can be deployed in the same application server as a different instances. It can be the same component, but for the visualization the UI component has to keep separate, right? Course, student and instructor, whatever you build, whether it is in Java, EJBs, Node or anything, whatever you want to use it, but while deploying it, it will be having an application server. To be more precise, if you want to say, okay, if it is Java, I will use JBoss, write that. It will make more sense to the diagram. It will add more context to the diagram, right? But I want to now ensure that all the static pages will go to the web server. And to do so, what I have to do? Now I have to again call another component. Okay, what I will do, I will go to the component section, not component, sorry, I will call another node, and in that node what I will do is I will name this as web server. When I say this as web server, what it will hold? All the static page of the web application. Now this is holding what? All the service or the backend of it. So you can basically write this as service to make it more clear. You can tell course service, you can tell instructor service over here. So you know that all the services and the backends has been deployed in the JBoss server in our case, and the application component is deployed in a web server. How to draw that? Now bring a component. Now what can be the component? As I have shown you earlier, Based on the same concept, what we have to do, the component is course, that is the first UI component which you want to build, right? The second component we can draw, which is again another web application. You can tell it as a web application, but I am just writing. So let me write this as course UI web application. You can keep everything in one section or in one component. Just for our understanding purposes, I am doing like this. You can now tell that I want to keep a student UI, which is again another web application. In the similar way, you can drag this node a little bigger so that we can drag another component in it, and that component we will name as course student and instructor. Okay, instructor UI web application. So by this you are clear that how you will be deploying. Now you can add many components depending upon your own requirements. I just wanted to prove that how this node will be deployed and tangled or tied with your components very nicely. Okay, now this is one thing you have to remember. Now what is the other? If we are building a normal, very normal two-tier architecture kind of thing, what is the another component which can come into picture, or another node? I will just drag it. By that time you must be thinking, or you must have an answer with you, but I'm just dragging this. And in the last component diagram I have shown, if you are doing it as a microservice, you can have 3 databases, right? So I am saying this is the database server, and here you will be doing 3 database. Now for time being, if you remember, I had added a category, and there I have added entity relationship for dragging the database entities. So it does drag it and say course DB. You can mention anything inside this, what the entity consists of, but for now I am not doing it. For our understanding, I am keeping this separate. Okay, this will be student DB, and the last one will be again the instructor DB. Right? Once this is now created, the components has been created, the DB entities or the DB has been created, I will say the database server. You can represent in a different way. Normally open other symbols are available for the database. You can drag and drop that. I'm just showing it as an entity in this particular diagram. Okay, and now how the web application is related? The web application is related to the application server. So you create a dependency of the web application to the application server, right? And also you can create a dependency on the database server. So basically it is going here, and from there it is having a dependency on the database server. That's how you are representing the component diagram which talks in the both direction. So you can put an arrow just up to this, and then another arrow up to this, depending upon what you want to show and how you want to show. So this is a basic but yet a deployment diagram which you can take it as a base and draw any kind of deployment diagram. You can put node, you can put views, you can put sequences, you can do the relationship, you can do triggers, and everything that you need to do for a deployment diagram is sufficient whatever I have covered. Okay, so starting from the basic to the advanced, I think this will be two. Okay, so thanks, and let's move to the next section.